To create a pivot table, the first thing you start with is a spreadsheet of data. Your spreadsheet needs to have a header row, and it can't have any gaps in the data or blank cells. If we're ready to begin, we just want to select a cell within the data range. We're going to go to the Insert tab and choose Pivot Table. Excel guessed at the range of data we wanted included in the pivot table. It put the cell coordinates in here. In our case, it guessed correctly. You can see the dotted outline around the data range it's selected. If it didn't guess correctly, or you want to include a custom data range, you can click this button here. Select the cells you want included. I'm not going to do it now since it did guess correctly, and it will automatically add them here. You can decide if you want the pivot table placed in a new worksheet or in the existing worksheet, which is the one here. I'd like it in a new worksheet, so I'll select this, and then we can click OK. And so what we have now is a new blank worksheet that Excel created for us. We have our pivot table area here where the pivot table is going to go. We have our pivot table field list section over here. This is where we're going to build it. And you'll also notice that we get two new tabs up on our ribbon for pivot table tools. I'm going to go back to look at my purchases worksheet just for a minute, and let's decide what we want our pivot table to show. I would like it to show the amount of money we spent in each budget number. So if we go back to our pivot table worksheet, we're going to start by grabbing the budget number field here, and we're going to place it in the row labels section. And you'll see that it gives us all the budget numbers that existed on that spreadsheet right here. Then if we want to see the amounts, we're going to take the amount field here and drag it down to the values box. And you'll see what it did was it automatically added up the amount spent by each of these budget numbers. You'll notice that if you click outside your pivot table, the pivot table controls over here go away. To get them back, just click back inside the pivot table and it'll come back. Let's say that now instead of budget numbers, we want to look at the amount spent in each category. I can take my budget row label here and just drag it out and it'll disappear. And then to add category, I'm going to drag it down. You can also use these checkboxes here to add criteria. The only thing with using the checkbox is that Excel guesses where you want it put down here, and sometimes it guesses right and sometimes it guesses wrong. So the safer thing is just to drag it down. In this case it did guess correctly, so now we have our categories and the amount spent in each category. Just for one more example, if I wanted to look at vendors instead, all I have to do is drag this category out, or I can uncheck it and it'll disappear. And then I can drag the vendor down here, and now I'll get totals for each vendor.